All right, everyone. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to join. I'm going to be going through some of my projects where I'm building a digital ukulele, and I'm going to walk you through some of the steps that I'm doing. So this is actually um, a DIY along with some electronics that we're going to go over and some code. So let's see. And I do have my other computer up, so if you have comments or questions, be sure to post them because I'm going to keep an eye on them. So let's start off with the base of this. So essentially, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this is like a real ukulele, and I use this to build my template. I just traced around my ukulele to be able to get the shape that I want because we're going to be creating a digital ukulele where you don't need to learn how to play like the chords of the ukulele. So I'm going to put this down. And so this is my template. It's in acetate. I originally was going, you can't actually see it, so let's see. I was actually going to build it using acetate, but the acetate is too thin and it won't hold like the Lego blocks that I'm going to use to hold my digital components to make this an electric ukulele that's digital. So what I decided to do is I'm going to do it using, this is like a heavy, super heavy cardstock. This is actually an old Mother's Day card that my kids got me, and it's nice and thick. This is one of those giant cards, and it has a nice decoration on it. So I traced a template from the ukulele. So this is the handle, and this is the head of it. And what I'm going to be doing is once we assemble this, it will be kind of a working thing. So this is the back side of it that we're going to need. And then this is going to be the front side of it. And I'm going to have to cut out the circle here. And this piece is important too because this is where some of the wires are going to come out. So when we play, the ukulele will be strung through here. And the wires are actually going to be, this is called maker tape. So it's just almost like a conductive tape that we're going to use to create the what you would do as strings. And I'm not going to bore you with like the cutting piece here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out. And we're going to look not only at the parts of the ukulele that we're building, but we're going to look at code too. So I already showed you the maker tape. This here is a crazy circuit. So it's a circuit board, and you can get this at Brown Dog Gadgets. And on the circuit board, these are pins, and they all have like numbering or lettering. So up here is the ground, these gray parts. This is for your voltage if you're going to use like a battery because you do need to power this. Sorry, this is for the voltage if you're connecting it using the maker tape and like a watch battery. Here you can actually use the, this is for, I believe, AAA batteries. You can do two AAA batteries and connect it with the wire here, like that. And we're going to power it with USB for this project. And I'm going to show you how we do that shortly. Let me move some of this out because I'm going to show you. This is a full kit. The kit was like $25. This is the circuit board, and it tells you what the different pins do and some general guidance. In the back, it also has how you connect the chip. So this is just a circuit board, and you need a chip to be able to make it do something. The program that you write goes onto the chip. So let's assemble this with the chip. Let me show you the chip here. So this is a microbit chip. This is the card for it. And then let's take, it's in an anti-static bag. And I did post about this on, I think, my last video. So let's just take this out. I'm going to put my feet up so I don't create any kind of static. So this is the chip. So the cool thing about this chip is see these little lines in here? Those are actually lights. So you could program this to just be kind of an LED board where different letters come up to spell a message. This chip has a bunch of functions. So you can like press both buttons to run something. You can shake it. There's a bunch of, you could tilt it to be able to get some kind of program done with it, which makes it really versatile. The back of it, you'll see here, is just a bunch of components. It does have a micro USB port here and another connector. And so these two things go together. So when you're going to insert your chip into the circuit, you want to make sure that the components in the back where it says microbit is facing all the components on the other side. So I'm just going to put this in here. And it's as easy as that to assemble it. So that's the basics of it. So now if we wanted to power this, we would actually just use the USB. Let me see if I have my USB connector on my laptop so we can get this powered on. I thought I did. Let me try and find that. But anyway, so this USB goes, just goes right on top. And once we have some power to it, it'll turn amber. And let me just see, because I used my USB connector to draw my template. That's what happens when I start using tools that are not meant for stuff to be able to build other stuff. So let's see, because I did have it. All right, we're going to have to plug this into my other laptop. So give me a second. And I'm going to show you how this actually powers on. Old age, guys, like you forget where you put things. Let's power this on with a plug. Okay, so I'm going to see if this will reach my plug, which is over here. I'm going to just unplug my laptop. Okay, now this is going to get plugged in to a socket on my wall. There you go. And it's on. And you know it's on because everything just kind of powers on here. So it's going through the process of just powering on. And I really want to get this connected to my computer because we're going to have a program that we're going to run onto it. We're not going to run the program today because I'm still programming it, but I wanted to give you the kind of gist of it. So that's how you can use the circuit. It comes pre-programmed, which is really cool. And you could do so much with this little gadget here. So let me just move some stuff out of the way here so I can get some Legos. So what we're going to do, just to show you guys, this guy is going to go in here. Not like this, obviously. But we're going to make this guy fit onto the ukulele. And we're going to actually use, because I'm going to have, this is going to be surrounded around the top, so it's going to sit like this. And so, and then there'll be a top. So on the base here, we'll connect our bit board. And we're going to use, the cool thing about this specific thing is I can use my Legos. Let me pull out my Legos. Who doesn't like to play with Legos? Let's see. So let's pull out a couple Legos here. That's the right size. Let me get another one in that same size. Yep. Okay. Let me just show you. So one of the things you can do with this is you can use the maker tape here, if I can find it. Again, guys, losing my brain here. So you can use this maker tape and run it through the Lego. And then what you would do is you just plop the circuit onto the Lego, and you can power it that way as long as you have like a battery at the other end. So I have some flat Legos. I can't use the taller Legos when I go to put this on because it adds too much height, I think, and I don't want it to be as thick on the sides. But you get the idea. We're going to also use Legos for push buttons. So let me show you. These are push buttons that I also got from Brown Dog Gadgets. Let me show you how these work. So these get programmed, and we're going to get another little Lego here. And we'll just sit it on a Lego. That Lego is too small. We'll find another Lego. Let's see. I think that's the right size. Yeah, there we go. So that sits on a Lego, and then this is going to go on the actual head of the ukulele. And so when you press the different buttons that I'm going to program, it'll go here. Let me see if I can lower this for you guys. So it'll go on the neck of the ukulele. And so when you press the different buttons, each button is going to be programmed to play a different chord of the ukulele. We're going to be programming 4 chords. So the most popular chords that you can play in the ukulele are C, F, G, A minor, and that's what we're going to program. Let me show you how we're going to do that now. Let me just put this away. And we're going to move the circuit board out of the way. And I'm going to tilt my camera so I can show you now kind of the code that I've been working on. Start up my computer. I really don't know where I put my adapter. I'm telling you guys. Okay, so I'm going to move you guys over. So give me 2 seconds so you can see here. And I'm going to bring you up. Let's see. Okay. I think we're getting to it. And we have liftoff somewhat. Okay, let me just position myself. My ring light may be a little crazy for you guys. We've got 2 ring lights going on, so let's try to get a good setting here so you don't get too much. Okay, so this here is microbit, and I wish I had done the gaming session, but I really wanted to share with you guys the base of what we're going to do and what some of the components are. So this is the code. So if you have ever used Scratch or have seen Scratch, this is just like Scratch. So this is just made by Microsoft, guys. So it's, it's a knockoff of Scratch. Scratch was created by MIT. It's easy to use and easy to program. So I'm going to try and get my computer as close. Trying to make sure you guys can see this really good. Okay. I'm going to turn my other ring light around so you guys don't get too much ring light in here. So let's go through this. So this is microbit. The URL is code.microbit.org, and we're going to use that to program our circuit. Okay. So this is the circuit we're programming. That we're creating the program for. And remember, I told you that this has pins on this actual circuit board. So this holds the program, but down here are the pins that will be connecting to the docks that we're going to use to play music. And this is important because I'm going to show you some of the code that we're going to write. Okay, so the first piece of code that I created here. Now this is from a template that Brown Dog had for like a Guitar Hero kind of thing, but ukuleles and guitars are different, so I had to rewrite some of this, but some of the bass just stays, and so they saved me a lot of work. So let me move over here so you can get a good look at this. So you notice over here is the microbit. It's a simulator, so you can see it. Here are all the inputs that you can use, and they just have different inputs you can use, but I like the fact that they have a music input. They have an LED input, they have this radio input, they have variables, they have math, and then they have some advanced features down here also, including games. So this is why this microcontroller is versatile, and I kind of dig it. Let's go back. All right. So what is this code doing? So remember I told you it has pins, right? So the board has pins that we're going to be using to circuit. So the first thing we're going to do is we need to kind of program each of those pins. So this is on start. On start just means when you plug it in or when it's powered on, what's happening with those pins. And you notice that pins 11, 13, 14, 15 right now are in the up state, meaning that they haven't been pushed. Then down here, set pin 11 to emit pulse events. That means when you push it down, run an event. And we have to program that event. This specific controller, let me bring it back, has a built-in speaker over here. So it can emit sound on its own, which is really cool. but you can connect headphones to it or an external speaker to it, which makes it, again, a lot of fun. Now, you may be disappointed in kind of the sounds once we get to this, but we can play around with that. I'm playing around with GarageBand to see what I can do. Anyway, so then we have this forever. This forever block just says like when a chord is played, essentially, like play the notes, right? And I have the notes that we are going to program here. I'm missing one of the notes. I have to add an additional note to this, and I have to do that by changing the function. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And then the tempo. This is all these blocks right here that we're using. And basically, this is just the music block that has a bunch of different other blocks, and it's all drag and drop. So you really don't need to know how to code. You just need to be able to do some logic with this. And yeah, it is pretty cool because it's just, I think we don't think about these things when we are building or trying to experiment with things. So here, let's see. Next, let's look at the fun part of this code. So a lot of it is just button presses, and up here we have like play chords, right? And I told you I'm missing a chord just because I forgot to add it. But I'm going to duplicate. All I have to do is duplicate, move it up, and tell it to play note 4 once I program it for a quarter of a beat. And that's it. Let's go down here. Okay, so down here you'll see this is where I program the ukulele chords, and I have some comments in here so I know which of the pins are going to get specific notes of the ukulele. Now, how did I figure that out? Because that was work, right? So how do you figure out like what chords play on the ukulele? Because when you're programming these, so like for example, let me close this to make this bigger. So up here we have the C chord. It says high C. So I need to figure out how to play that on this MIDI piano over here. Let me move this over a little so you guys can see. So there's a MIDI piano. And so for this chord, it was a middle C. Let's find middle C. When I press that, that's the middle C, but actually it was high C. I have it in my notes. Thank goodness I wrote notes. So high C would be right here. And that's this is the code or the digits that are associated to high C. So I need to enter this as the first note, and then there's no other notes that are pressed in order to create that high C. If you look down here on G, let me move this down so we can go down. Okay. So you look here at G, we have 262, 392, and 294. In my notes, it says it's middle B, middle G, and middle D. So it will play all of those chords all at once. And if we look at the piano, it's middle B. So let's find middle B right there. That's the code. And I actually entered the wrong code. Look at that. It should be 494. Then middle G, 392, and then middle D. Oh, I didn't. Nope. The first one's wrong. Middle G is 294. So let's change this middle B to 494. And you just highlight it and put in the code there and just hit enter. And that's it. So how did I figure out those chords? Because I think that was the hardest part for me, was figuring out where those chords came in and how to play them. So I'm going to move my computer for a second, and I'm going to share this with you guys. So I have these ukulele chord charts, So if you play ukulele, you should have a chord chart because there's so many different positions that you have to put your fingers in. So I mentioned that the 4 chords I'm going to program are C, F, G, A minor. And so for C, you're only pressing one string. And if you look up here on this ukulele chord, this is, it's the way you tune a ukulele is by the chords. So this is for right-handed, I'm left-handed, so mine is inversed. But it's G, C, E, A, and then each of these spaces is a fret. And so the frets are numbers. So here for C, this is on the 3rd fret on the A chord. So you're holding that chord down when you're playing the C note. For F, it is fret 1, and you're pressing down the E chord, and fret 2, you're pressing down the G chord. So then that means I have to translate that here. Let's see, F is down here. So you'll see here, those are the two strings that you have to press on the different frets, and these are the associated piano chords. But how do I know the piano chords? I don't. I cheated. So I have this cheat sheet here. So I know that for F, I have to press the second fret, the E string, so second fret E string, so it's an F chord, and then I look up here, so this is middle F, green F is considered middle F, and I look up here and I know where it is, and so then back at the MIDI piano, I just program it to be middle F. For the C chord, we're only pressing one chord, it's the third fret A string, so that's a red C, there's no other strings that we're pressing, so that is going to be a high C right here, which is this chord right here, and on the MIDI it's the same. So these were just cheat sheets that I used to actually figure out how to play the chords. Now, I could program all of these chords, but I mean, when you're playing ukulele, there's 4 chords that you will play all the time to play hundreds of songs. It's just a matter of like the order that you play them in. The other thing that I've been trying to troubleshoot is like, I'm going to have to figure out the beats per second to actually coincide with the strumming patterns that you use, because ukulele use different strumming patterns, but I'm going to tackle that as I program and test. So that's how I got these kind of figured out. How does the ukulele coincide to the piano, so then I can figure out where here I need to figure out the code, right? And so this, you can play through it. If you know how to play piano, my piano skills aren't that great, but if you know how to play piano, you can program a whole song without having to use push buttons. You can just have it automatically play when you press one button and have it play a song straight through. I think there's a lot of use cases for this. Let me put this away. Okay, so once I start stringing all of those buttons and I start assembly, I will then on here, I should really turn this off so you can see. Let me just pull the plug. Let's pull the plug. Let's take the chip out. Put the chip in its bag so it doesn't. It took it a month to get here, so I don't want it to get damaged because there is you know, microcontroller shortage. Okay, so on here you'll see. I don't know if you can see this, but there are numbers by each of these pins. So, for example, here we have pin 11 is going to play the C note. So then what I would do is I would string the maker tape to pin 11 here, and it just needs to go underneath, right? So I would string pin 11, so I would do the maker tape from here to the push button 11, and then we're going to program pin 13. That's this one. I believe we're doing 14 and 15, so 14 and 15. So these 3 pins and then pin 11 will play the ukulele chords. I also have to ground this, and that's why I'm using the Lego blocks, because I'll just put some of the maker tape onto the Lego block up here to ground it. And I'm going to use a battery pack because we're not going to be plugging this sucker in. So the battery pack will actually go plugged in here into this spot right here, and it'll have two AAA batteries. So then we can just take that ukulele anywhere with us. I think this is going to be a fun project to actually complete. Unfortunately, I can't complete this project all in one live because I'm still trying to figure out the chords to make sure that I have them programmed correctly. And as I mentioned, I'm missing a note up here that I'm going to have to program. And yeah, so that's kind of like this gist of this project. You might want to know how I'm going to add this chord up here. So this is a special function that was created, and we can go into the functions here. Let me just move over a little here. Give it a minute to catch up. I click on functions here, and you'll see here I have this play chords. So what I can do, this is this function right here, call play chords. So what I'm going to do is I can go into the definition for it. Let's see if it'll let me do this. Go to definition. Maybe I have to do it here. Uh, Edit function. That's what we're going to do. Okay. So what we can do is we can take this, and this is where we actually tell it like what is going to go in here. And if you look down here, you notice that it says number. So if I highlight it, it has this little pad here, which is the same as here. So I can click here and add a number and say note 4. And that's all you really have to do, too many spaces. And then click done. So now I have note 4 up here, and I can assign it. I should be able to assign it here just by bringing it down here like that. And that's literally how easy it is to actually fix this. And yeah, so I'm going to go through this, and we're going to do a build out on this just because, you know, I think that this is going to be a cool project to work on and to actually build out. So if you guys have any questions, I'm going to be creating some additional TikTok videos as I go through the steps of how I, you know, figure out the programming on this, which is already created. I pretty much have all the chords set. Once we, you know, figure out all of this, then what we can do is I'll go live again to show you the final project once it's created. I am working on this project part-time, and so I think that once I have all of the ukulele parts put together, and I really like that I remembered that I had this card stock from this huge card because it's really sturdy. I think this is going to make not only a fun ukulele, but it's going to be pretty because, you know, it's going to be girly. And it's going to be functional. So imagine being able to play a ukulele just by pressing some buttons that are programmed to play specific chords and not having to figure out like, oh, what chords do I have to press, learning how to play the ukulele. You'll be able to play a bunch of songs just using the 4 chords. So that's it for this project, for the overview of it at least. They again, the parts I'm going to be using are cardboard, a microcontroller from Brown Dog Gadgets, along with a, let me show you again, a microbit controller that we're programming here using, this is Microbit by Microsoft, and we're going to be programming the program in Microbit, downloading it and transferring it to the microcontroller just using the USB and just loading the program into it, and then we can play it around. We can play around with it. And then from there, we're also going to use Legos to connect it all. So the buttons will get connected onto a Lego, and I'll plan to have a couple more Legos in this project. I think I have some flat Legos that I can actually use. I might use the flat Legos to kind of the board Lego panels that you use to build up. I think I'll put those inside of the ukulele just in case I want to add additional components to it. But I like the fact that it uses Legos also. I can also 3D print a couple Legos, but I have buckets of it, so I'm not too worried about it. So if you guys like this project or want to see more, be sure to follow me and continue watching out for my videos where I share the process of building this out. So I like to keep these short, guys. I am looking for those tiny dinies. So if you guys can hook me up with a tiny diny, that would be appreciated. If you found this kind of live helpful and you want to see more of these, you know, send me a message. I'm happy to do more. I've been thinking about doing a Python programming live to walk you guys through how to learn how to code in Python and some more of these kind of microcontroller IoT projects. So I hope that you guys have a happy Monday. I am going to be signing off. And just be sure to follow me, swipe on my profile so you can get to my links, which gives you access to my GitHub. And yeah, happy Monday, guys.